What's up, fans? You got the Razman here with yet another Razman's Reality. Want to sincerely thank everybody. The word is really starting to get out about this blog slash show. So I want to thank you once again for finding me however you found me, whether it was through word of mouth from my former hotline colleagues, or whether it was through the internet, or whether it was through word of mouth, however, from just, people off the street, however you've been finding me, I appreciate it wholeheartedly. Last night, Monday Night Raw, very, very good Raw. Show opens up with Stephanie McMahon trying to quote-unquote welcome her father to the show next week. Chris Jericho comes out and says he doesn't give a darn, to paraphrase him, because it's YouTube and we broadcast to all audiences here on this show. He says he doesn't give a darn about Stephanie McMahon and anything she has to say, so Stephanie says, again paraphrasing, well, maybe you'll give a darn about this. You're fired. So Chris Jericho, quote unquote, fired by Stephanie McMahon. Now, I put quotes around that because I don't see Chris Jericho actually being fired. I don't see that. I don't know if he's going to be reinstated, quote unquote, by Vince next week on Raw to sort of undermine Stephanie's authority. I don't know if he's going to move to ECW or SmackDown. I really don't know what's going on, but I don't think Chris Jericho is fired. I know there has been a rash of firings in WWE lately because of economic struggles, but Chris Jericho is not on that list, and as far as I know, he is not hurt. Now, before today's show was posted, I diligently did the research on all the insider wrestling websites. There's nothing about this angle and no word that Chris Jericho has been fired or is injured. So this is something that WWE is keeping very tight-lipped. So we'll all just have to wait and see what happens as a result of this storyline. Also last night we saw the return of Ted DiBiase Jr., who of course went away for a while to film The Marine 2. No word yet on when that's coming out, or if he's going to be playing John Triton. I hope that's not the case, because John Cena established that character. However, DiBiase returned to WB last night, turning on Manu and Slim Snuka, who thought that they had brought DiBiase in to counteract Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton. DiBiase helps Rhodes and Orton beat down Manu and Snuka, finishing a storyline that they started almost a year ago, and Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, and Ted DiBiase Jr. are all on the same page as part of the WWE's legacy. So we'll have to wait and see where this storyline goes, but I'm liking it so far. I don't like the name, because those of us here in the Dayton area know about XVW and how XVW was using the name The Legacy long before the WWE, but we'll just have to wait and see what comes out of this. And in the main event last night, it was a non-title match. John Cena versus the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels, with JBL in his corner. This was a great match. In the end, JBL leans on the bottom rope, helping Shawn Michaels to reach the bottom rope. Michaels is like, I don't need your help. He looks very frustrated. Cena gets distracted by JBL, goes after JBL, turns around and gets Sweet Chin Music 1, 2, 3 HBK with a non-title victory over John Cena. Could this lead to perhaps Mr. McMahon in inserting Shawn Michaels into the world title match at the Royal Rumble, which would subsequently lead to the Shawn Michaels versus JBL matchup that I'm expecting and many others are expecting for WrestleMania. We'll have to wait and see what happens, but it was a very good and very surprising ending. Again, John Cena jobbing out cleanly to Shawn Michaels in a non-title match. Speaking of Cena, here's a bit of news. WWE is renaming all of Cena's finishers. They're renaming the FU, the throwback, which was formerly the name given to the move where Cena goes behind your head and throws your head down to the mat. And they also took the FU out of the STFU and are just referring it to it once again as the STF. So I'm not sure why they did this or what was behind it. My guess is they're trying to be politically correct. We'll have to wait and see if they give an explanation to it or if it's just something they do. Maybe they don't want little kids being exposed to the FU innuendo and parents have to explain what FU means without cussing at their kids. Perhaps that's what they're thinking. And if that's true, I don't really mind it at all. In other WWE news, it does appear that the woman that played Jeff Hardy's girlfriend on SmackDown this past Friday was not his actual girlfriend, but was indeed an actress. So for those of you that were wondering about that out there that is. Let's shift focus now to TNA, as TNA had their Genesis pay-per-view, and this was probably the most convoluted pay-per-view in the history of TNA, but it wasn't their fault, because they had a lot of injuries to deal with. They had a women's knockout championship match scheduled. Well, it turns out that women's champion / knockout champion Awesome Kong has a sore back, so they took her off the pay-per-view. They took Christy Hemme off the pay-per-view because Hemme has a neck injury that's so severe that she's going to have surgery. They had Beer Money Inc. regain the TNA tag titles, only to have Robert Roode suffer a legitimate ankle injury, that might keep him out of action for an indefinite period of time. And they had Kevin Nash suffer a staph infection and be replaced by Q-Tip in the 6-man tag. So TNA being hit hard by a big rash of injuries right now, so we'll have to wait and see what happens here. The NFL playoffs from this past Sunday, the Steelers and the Eagles moving on. So the championship games are Cardinals versus Eagles for the NFC Championship. Who would have thought that one earlier in the year? And then it's the Steelers versus the Ravens for the AFC Championship. And other NFL news, Tony Dungy's out. Finally, as the Colts head coach, he retires, hangs them up, look for Ron Meeks to be named officially the next head coach of the Colts. This was the plan a couple years ago, so I imagine it'll probably come down today or sometime within the next few days, that official announcement. 24 last night. Great show. Again, not going to give away any spoilers here, considering the written blog in particular for 24, but Jack ran into 2 more old friends during last night's show, and there was already a twist to the storyline that was established just 2 nights ago on Sunday. So like I said in yesterday's blog, show has not lost a beat. So if I were you, I would check out 24 without one shred of a doubt.